we are live. It's been a little while since we've done our last live stream. Finally got around to getting back to doing this. I've been slammed, as you can imagine. Never time for sleep, but you know what they say, no rest for the wicked. So, I'm sure some of you may already be aware of what's happening in Chicago, where you had yet another deranged lunatic try to attack ICE agents because Orange Man bad, because Nazi. This stuff just seems to keep happening, and it's, I hate to say not surprising, because it's not. Look, the radical left has lost their damn mind. The Democrat Party, at this point, has blood on their hands with all the enraged, consumed stupidity that they've been outputting since Trump came onto the scene. They couldn't believe that Orange Man was going to steal their thunder, and so ever since then it's been, he was a communist. Remember that? It was, Russia, and all that. And then when the communism thing didn't work, then he became New Hitler. We've already seen murders, killings all over the U.S. The stuff never ends. The Democrat Party and the radical left has been consumed by their deranged hatred of Donald Trump. And their Trump derangement syndrome, their TDS, has infected and drowned out whatever sanity that they had left. The entire party is a festering wound, and it's infected as many of their constituents as they are able to indoctrinate with their insanity. But again, this is just par for the course for the Democrat Party. And, so this happened today. You had another attempted murder of Border Patrol agents, ICE agents. This is from, I got the, okay. We're going to use, just for funsies, we're going to use a leftist news outlet. See what they, how they talk about this. I haven't vetted this video, but let's check it out.
Chicago Southwest Side, a hotbed of...
Okay, so this should be talking about it. Otherwise, we'll go to my default story that I was going to use to cover this. Because finding video footage of the actual shooting seems to be difficult for now. So we're just going to go with what people are saying about it. But yeah, so you have a guy in a vehicle coming up and takes shots at Border Patrol agents. Here's our fancy-dancy bullet to the window. Now, thankfully, no one was killed, so that's a start. But the attempt is on. So this is ABC News, a left-wing news outlet, saying shots fired at Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, during immigration operation in Little Village. Chicago police officer responding for traffic control accidentally hit by pickup truck as well, officials say. Oh, you gotta love accidentally hit by pickup truck. I'm sure. Someone fired shots at Customs and Border Patrol agents on Chicago's southwest side, the Department of Homeland Security said. A responding Chicago police officer was injured during the incident. The incident happened as federal agents launched several operations Saturday in the Little Village neighborhood as part of Operation Midway Blitz, possibly detaining at least 2 people. In a statement posted to X, DHS said agents were conducting operations near the 26th Street and Kedzie Avenue in the Little Village neighborhood when the shooting happened. An angry crowd gathered, naturally, after a federal officer allegedly detained a young woman near 26th and Kedzie. There's always a willing and ready lunatic to go out there and protest ICE, it seems. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino was there. He could be seen in a cell phone video with an apparent tear gas canister in his hand. Residents demanded the detained woman's release. It's like, I mean, come on, man. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to demand the release of an illegal alien. These people are so goddamn stupid. It's hard for me to quantify just how retarded these people actually are. Because most of these people are just useful idiots. The Democrat Party, they're looking at the illegal aliens as a new voter bloc. if they could just get them amnesty. And they've tried 9 times since 2000. So they keep trying to do this. And they've ginned up hatred and the equating rule of law, enforcing the law as somehow Nazism, which of course is utterly retarded and stupid. But there's enough glue-sniffing weirdos out there. Thank you, Rex, for that. That these idiots will buy into it. So they think that they're saving the world by destroying the U.S. by allowing unfettered illegal immigration, which of course we can't handle. And of course no country can handle. And all you have to do is look at the EU, look at the UK for the chaos that's happening there. If you want to know what our future is, if Trump fails to ramp up to eventual mass deportation. Because make no mistake, once Donald Trump is gone, there's no guarantee that the next administration would continue the expulsion of the infestors in our country. Anyway, so the idiots demanded that the woman be released, and of course the ICE agents were not going to release a criminal alien. Because remember, anyone who is in the country illegally is a criminal piece of crap. Now, during the incident, DHS says an unknown male who was driving a black Jeep fired shots at agents and fled the scene. DHS also said an unknown number of agitators threw a paint can and bricks at Border Patrol vehicles. We need to start seeing a lot of mass arrests and severe charges placed on these people. I don't know why it's not much higher. I don't know what the Trump administration is waiting for, but they need to get off their asses and start going after these people with a vengeance. Now, Byron Sidcho Lopez said cell phone video recorded by a resident shows something different. It's very clear. They came out of the vehicles pointing their weapons and they used tear gas on people. Yeah, you were blocking them. Duh. CBD officials confirmed to ABC7 that Chicago police officers responded to the scene for a report of shots fired, and there are no reports of anyone struck by gunfire, just the windshield. Moments later, a Chicago police officer who had been called to the intersection for crowd control was hit by a vehicle. Another officer at the scene told ABC7. CPD officials later also confirmed an officer who was conducting traffic control was accidentally struck by a GMC pickup truck. No, the driver of the pickup truck, driven by a 20-year-old female. The CBD officer had minor injuries and was taken to a hospital in good condition. The driver was given 2 citations and detectives are investigating, meaning it might not have been an accident. More chaos ensued when CBP agents appeared to use tear gas as they took another person into custody near 26th and Pulaski, all under the watchful eye of the agency's helicopter. Look, they should be using a hell of a lot more than tear gas in my book. Anyone who gets the hell in their way should be expecting to either end up in jail or in the hospital or 6 feet under. We cannot keep allowing people to try to pull an anarchy in this country. We can't allow the lunatics out there, the 2%ers, to pull brown shirt tactics with no repercussion. This is going to end with a lot of people dead if something isn't done about these people, about these radical protesters. Now, a resident, Hubertine Hensler, resident idiot that is, said, "It's just terrible to see what ICE is doing to our communities. We're scared for our neighbors. We're scared for our friends." The only person you need to be scared for is someone who is a criminal who is in this country illegally. If you're not here illegally, well, then you got nothing to worry about. But of course, Orange Man bad Hitler. Hitler no like non-Orange Man bad. Saturday afternoon, warning whistles and vehicle horns once again blared as neighbors say federal agents attempted unsuccessfully to detain a man and his 11-year-old niece near 25th and Sawyers. Tensions flared after the CPD was once again called for crowd control when federal agents left after claiming a vehicle rammed their SUV. It is unclear where those who were detained were taken or if they were charged with any crime. ABC has reached out to DHS for comment. Now, of course, this is your left-wing tinge. Everything has to be a negative here. The person who allegedly shot fires at agents remains at large, and the DHS added that this incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of violence and obstruction. Over the past 2 months, we've seen an increase in assaults and obstruction targeting federal law enforcement during operations. These confrontations highlight the dangers our agents face daily and the escalating aggression towards law enforcement. The violence must end. And I think I think that the Trump administration is allowing it to get out of hand so that they can convince hearts and minds that much more brutal methods of enforcement will need to be taken. I actually think that this will lead us inevitably to an Insurrection Act declaration. I think the last time we saw it was the Rodney King riots in 1992. But if you're going to do mass deportation, you need the National Guard. You need troops. Because you got 25 to 30 million people. Yeah, you have over 2 million who have already either been deported or self-deported since January. But that still leaves at least another 28 million that have got to go. And you have just over 3 years left to make that happen. That's the math isn't mathing right now. But nobody should be surprised that the radical left is like this. The murdering of Charlie Kirk and others, this is just par for the course for the... I mean, look, this is literally the entire history of the Democrat Party is racism and violence. This is the party of slavery. In case all of you guys remember, the Democrat Party always engages in violence like this. We can go back in time. Let's visit the annals of history. When the Republican Party first came onto the scene, because the Republican Party is not one of the original parties in the United States, it was the anti-slavery party. The Democrat Party did not like that their opposition was daring to end their hold on the black people, the less thans, the subhumans. And so, when the Republicans began pushing for abolition, you have Charles Sumner, who's a Republican, this guy right here on the right. He gets caned by this piece of shit here. Literally, the guy went and attacked a fellow congressman with a cane and beat him because he was trying to end slavery. And did that man go to jail? No, he did not. He got fined $300, which would be the equivalent to about $10,000 today. The left has always resorted to violence. It's just their MO. And then, of course, when you had President Lincoln come in, then it was, well, time to break up the country. You have a civil war. Hundreds of thousands of people die. When the left loses the Civil War, when the Democrat Party loses the Civil War, what do? Why, they say, fine, we're going to bring in the KKK. You remember those hooded people going out there and being all anti-black people? Who do you think begun this? Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, a.k.a. the Democrat Party. In fact, there were KKK members in the Democrat Party in the Senate as recently as the 90s, and I think, as Wolf pointed out last time, as recently, I think you had one of them still in office up until the early 2000s. Which is ironic, because this is the party that managed to subjugate the black folks again with welfare. But before that, since the KKK didn't quite work, then it was the Jim Crow laws, the segregation laws. These people, the Democrat Party, never ceases to attack and harm people that they hate. They are elitists, they are classists, and they are racists. And this never ends. And do you think it was just the Jim Crow law eras? No, it was not. You also had the 1960s radicals, many of whom are in power today. The Weather Underground, you had bombings, you had murders. This is just par for the course for the frickin' Democrat Party. They never end. It's just the same old, same old, same old. And so now here we go, thanks to the radical rhetoric, the threats. I think it was an 8,000% increase in death threats to ICE agents since the beginning of this year. I mean, it's just a matter of time before the left ramps this up to 11 and you start getting more than a random pot shot at ICE agents. Which again, I think that the Trump administration is letting it get to this point so that they can say, look, these people are freaking insane. It's time for us to start going after them. But until I see mass arrests of protesters, I'm not really that excited. They need to hurry the hell up and stop coddling these pieces of shit. There's human debris out there. Now, there is some things that they are doing. And I didn't get to talk about this yesterday. By the time I got home, it was too late to jump online. I didn't want to do an 11 o'clock in the evening Pacific Standard Time show. But the DHS is making their first moves. This happened quite recently. So you know how the left is always mad about the Border Patrol agents masking up? The DHS now says, that's a good idea. Let's make masks illegal for the protesters. Dun, dun, dun. The DHS is now warning Portland that anti-ICE protesters that guess what? You pieces of crap. There is a mask ban in effect around federal facilities. Now, the mask ban will not affect federal agents. No. It is specifically for these garbage human individuals who are attempting to attack the federal government for enforcing the law. This, by the way, is actually quite delicious. The Department of Homeland Security is warning Portland's anti-ICE lunatic protesters, I added the lunatic part, that a new ban on mask wearing has gone into effect around federal facilities. Should have done this 4 or 5 months ago, but whatever. Many protesters have taken up the habit of hiding their identities because they are criminal pieces of shit behind neckerchiefs and other masks as they protest against President Donald Trump's deportation policies. Meaning, protecting America from infestation. It's an important thing you do. In fact, that's probably priority one for the federal government, is protecting their citizens, but whatever. And many have used the anonymity to commit acts of violence and property damage. But the Trump administration has now moved to put a dent in that obstructive concealment. Now, what we need to see is if they're going to put this ban in effect, that anyone who wears a ban should get arrested if they wear masks. Let's see what they do here. In the DHS notice under prohibited conduct, 6 CFR Part 139 defines when it is illegal to conceal your identity in public, wearing a mask, a hood, disguised device that conceals the identity of the wearer when attempting to avoid detection or identification while violating any federal, state, or local law, ordinance, and regulation. Let's see. Let's get a little closer look at this. So federal rules and regulations for conduct on federal property, protection of federal property, federal rules and regulations, blah, 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 up to 30 days and a $5,000 fine. That doesn't seem like enough in my book. I mean, I guess it's another way they can arrest them, but $5,000 fine and 30 days in jail does not quite do it for me. I guess it's a start. Now, these new rules are set to take effect next January, or they were, but DHS has now pushed the timeline up to this month. Well, about freaking time. Why were they set to take effect next January? What is wrong with the DHS? Get it together. Now, the department also announced new guidelines on addressing giving federal officers more authority to arrest and charge rioters. Again, why is this only happening now? Today, the Department of Homeland Security and Federal Protective Services announced the accelerated implementation of the regulations governing conduct on federal property. The new regulations provided FPS charging authority to correlate with DHS enforcement authority and are an essential tool in addressing the recent surge in violence, blah, blah, blah. The statement added that the early implementation of the rules means to address a recent surge in security and public safety threats. And additionally, the FPS has provided recommended updated collateral fee schedules to allow U.S. district courts to set fines to reflect the serious nature of the prohibited conduct. I think people who attack federal institutions should just be charged with terrorism. I think if you commit a crime against a federal agency, throwing firecrackers, trying to set a federal building on fire, it shouldn't be your basic crimes. It should be straight up terrorism and or treason, especially when you consider what is at stake here. That these people are actively trying to get non-citizens who have broken into this country to be allowed to stay. It is no different in my book than California actively giving commercial driver's license over 60,000 to non-citizens. These things should be treasonous. These people are actively trying to destroy this country. Now, in the case of California and other states like them, they are doing this to thwart the rule of law by making it difficult to find these agents. In fact, in California, for those of you who do not know, if you're in a car accident in California, and by the way, insurance rates are astronomically high now in California because of this. If you're in an accident in California now, because there are so many illegal aliens without insurance on the road, if no one is injured, even if you have, like, let's say your car was completely totaled, the police department will not come out and do police reports. They won't do it. They won't do it because they want to protect illegal aliens from the law. All of this is insane. State legislatures should be brought up on charges. Now, I'm sure there's no way that actually would happen, but there should be some kind of contingency in place when you have rogue states. And California's been doing this for decades now. They've been doing everything in their power to protect illegal aliens, because you have to understand, they look at them as a permanent voting bloc. They already saw what happened in the 1980s with the Reagan-Tip O'Neill amnesty deal. 70% of those people would then vote Democrat, flipping California deep blue from a purple-red state that had voted Republican for 30 years to a Democrat hellhole. They see the potential power here. So they are willing to destroy countless lives in the quest to give tens of millions of non-citizen citizenship in the hope that they can replicate another 70% voter bloc. It's permanent power. So they're willing to fuck everything up in this country for the short term in the hopes that they'll get perpetual power. I mean, how is this not treason? How is this not treason? Same thing goes with these people who are masking up and attacking federal agents who are trying to deport aliens in the country. Those people should be charged with treason. And again, I know that won't happen. And I'm just some guy on the internet and I have no power to enforce this. But that's what I think should happen here. This is complete and utter bullshit. It's maddening to me. Just checking the chat here. Lyndon B. Johnson said, if you give the black community welfare, they will vote Democrat every cycle for the rest of eternity. I'm not sure if he actually said that, but that wouldn't surprise me. And by the way, it worked. They literally convinced 90+% of the black community to vote for the party of slavery. I mean, what an amazing grift. And the black community has been destroyed by welfare. 72% now of black children are born to single-parent homes because you get way more money for children if they are in a single-parent home. The welfare system is designed to break up the family. Your big daddy government is your new daddy. The reason why they do this is because it creates a perpetual, permanent underclass that will vote for you. Homes where you have stable parents tend to produce stable children. Shocker, I know. Now, anyone can overcome difficulties in life to become great people. That's true. But you're making it harder for them to do it. And today, the black community's culture is rotted. Utterly complete rotten at this point. There are pockets of non-corruption, but it's hard to find. And that, I think, was by design. Sharon Lee says, I think we need to change the rules of the filibuster. I actually agree with you on that. I don't have it queued up right now. It's in my stack of stuff. But look, the Democrat Party is going to get rid of the filibuster at some point. I don't see why the Republicans would hang on to it. It's just a bunch of cowardice out there right now. Because make no mistake, if the Democrat Party were to get back into power now, they would stack the Supreme Court. They would flip it by just simply adding so many justices, nothing would matter. The Democrat Party today is a party of corruption and, frankly, in many cases, evil. The radical lunatics have taken over the party. The party of the 90s, the reasonable Democrats they're a minority now. They're few and far between. Make no mistake, the Mamdani incident, by the way, that for damn sure, that's just indicative of where the base of the Democrat Party is. You know, you had a lot of people running around surprised and shocked at the recent elections in Democrat, stronghold states. I wasn't. I didn't get to talk about it that day because, again, I've been really busy and it's been difficult for me to get into it. But I, for damn sure, wasn't. It's where they're at. You have all these youths from the millennials onwards, and probably even longer than that, but certainly since the millennial age group, from the 80s on, have been taught that socialism good, capitalism bad. And they use corrupt capitalism as a means to try to denigrate it. And you have decades and decades of children being raised to think that America bad, our system bad, and why socialism would just work if only those mean old capitalists would just get the hell out the way. The party of Dominion has taken over the party of the Democrats. And if they ever get power anytime in the near future, you can kiss goodbye whatever freedom you had. And if you thought the Biden years of tyranny was bad, you just wait. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi retiring. Yeah, she, her insider trading, because, they don't make it illegal for congressmen, of course. If you or I were doing what Nancy Pelosi did, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives. But, of course, she made hundreds of million, I think $139 million or some crap like that. But the problem is, these guys are going to get replaced with just way more radical weirdos than the ones that are leaving. Nancy Pelosi was a piece of shit. She was dangerous. She's actually one of the instigators of the modern day hate party that the Democrat Party has become. If you go back in time and look at the Wellstone Memorial, early 2000s, when they couldn't accept George W. Bush being the president, that's where the "not my president" meme first started. And they never quite forgave the people for not voting in permanent power to them. But everywhere you look, this shooting is indicative of where we are as a culture. And you have people actively, thinking that it's okay to block ICE operations at every turn. You got people like Mamdani vowing that the NYPD will not help ICE. I even saw stories, I didn't get a chance to verify it, so I'm going to assume it's not true, that they would try to arrest ICE agents because, of course, they don't have the power to do so. But make no mistake, they will actively try to stop the federal government at every turn. That's just what the Democrat Party is. And they want vengeance. They want revenge for them not being voted into power. That's all it is. But I don't know. I'm so sick and tired of seeing these. And the problem is, we know that there's going to be more shootings. We know that this is going to continue. There's no end in sight. There's no off-ramp for these lunatics. There's absolutely nothing that's going to stop them from continuing on with causing havoc, attempting to murder people who don't agree with them, trying to murder ICE agents for enforcing the law. Because, of course, the real purpose of that would be to get ICE agents to be so afraid that they would just simply quit and say, okay, we're not going to try to enforce the law anymore. And it's not just for the Trump administration, it's forever after. They want everyone else to be afraid to try to stop immigration because that is the ticket for the Democrat Party to gain permanent power. That's all there's to it. But I think the only possible good outcome of all of this will be pushing the Trump administration to finally bring in the troops, to do an insurrection act, and simply shut this shit down. And giving people really, 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 really long sentences where they don't get out for decades. Make it so difficult for people who do bad things to operate in the future, to lose huge chunks of their life that no one wants to do it anymore. So I don't know, my friends. I don't know if that's going to be the future here, but I still think that that's where Trump is going with this. So, oh, and by the way, speaking of corruption, I would be remiss to not point out that you also have the judicial branch that's actively still engaging in corruption, trying to stop the Trump administration at every turn. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court does. These guys are still going out there. This came down the pike yesterday. I didn't get a chance to talk about this either. But you had yet another corrupt judge telling the Trump administration that, nope, you can't deploy the National Guard to Portland. Ha ha ha, I'm a weird judge. I'm the new king. This was from ABC News, left-wing news outlet. A federal judge ruled on Friday that Donald Trump exceeded the president's authority, says the pissant-nobody judge, when he sent federalized National Guard troops into Portland. In a 106 decision, or 106 decision, Trump appointed U.S. District Judge Karen Immergut, she's been actively fighting against Trump, made permanent an order that she issued last month blocking the deployment into the city, which of course she'll get overturned at the Supreme Court, but it's just another delay tactic. The weird, retarded Karen, judge, literally named Karen, says the evidence demonstrates that these deployments, which were objected to by Oregon's governors, doesn't frickin' matter, you stupid judge. No president needs to wait for a governor of a state to approve the putting down of lawlessness in their states. And not requested by the federal officials in charge of protection. Who the fuck cares? The president is the chief executive officer. He's the chief lawman in the country. And this piece of crap judge has no authority to tell the president that he can't bring in the National Guard. Now, after a 3-day pretend trial, Immergut, the Karen judge, retracted the Trump administration's argument. It was always in the cards that she was going to reject it, by the way, that immigration-related protests amounted to rebellion or danger of a rebellion. Are you freaking kidding me? Every attempt to stop the federal government from enforcing the law, from protecting the border is rebellion, is treason. And the judge is rejecting the Trump administration's argument that the standard needed to justify federal takeover of the National Guard. And she wrote, when considering these conditions that persisted for months before the president's federalization of the National Guard, this court concludes that even giving great deference to the president's determination, what a lying piece of shit the statement is. The president did not have a lawful basis to federalize the National Guard, as if she gave any kind of deference to the president's determination. This judge should be disbarred. But we give too many protections to judges so that they can run rampant as little fiefdoms, little kingdoms in the U.S. And she went on to write that the precise standard to demarcate the line past which conditions would satisfy the statutory standard to deploy the military in the streets of American cities is ultimately a question for a higher court to decide, which will happen. The Supreme Court will not back up this lunatic judge. But again, this is a delaying tactic, as I've said on this program plenty of times before. They are trying to draw this out. They are trying to outlast Trump. They know he's going to win this stuff. But the reason why they do it and continue to do it, no matter what is up there, no matter what roadblocks is presented to the judges, is because they're simply trying to run out the clock. They're hoping that the next president will be a typical garbage Republican or a radical leftist. If they can just keep the illegals in the country long enough, then they'll get their amnesty. That is the dream. That is the goal. Now, in late September, the radical left news wing outlet ABC News writes, I added that part for flavor, Trump issued an order federalizing 200 members of the Oregon National Guard to protect federal property amid ongoing protests at a Portland ICE facility despite objections from local officials. The city of Portland and state of Oregon sued, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to stop the Trump administration. It will slow them down because they continue to obey these judges for whatever freaking reason. I mean, the original reason I surmised in previous live streams was that I think they're doing this to help sway public opinion so they can see how corrupt these judges are. But at some point, you got to say, F these judges, we're just going to do what we're going to do. Or you're just going to keep getting things like this. You're going to keep getting attacks on ICE agents. And eventually there'll be more and more murders. The federal government needs to, with a vengeance, go after these people. But at least there's a mask ban coming. For that, I'm pleased. But I still don't think it's enough. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it. Let's see what we got in the chat. Mike Trevor says you just stumbled upon the channel. Well, welcome. I don't always do live streams, but it's been a more recent development for the channel. I'm going to continue to do so. Probably more weekend live streams and then back to more regularly scheduled small clips that'll be putting up. I'll try to get back to doing that daily. I just have limited time for the short term, and I'm trying to squeeze as much of this as I can. But, yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's what I wanted to kind of get with you guys on. Kind of keep it as a shorter stream today. But it's just, this whole thing is maddening to watch. And I'm so sick and tired of this lunacy. And the attempt to justify it is so gross. It drives me crazy. So, yeah, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up today. Before I let you guys go, just a reminder, and I will be getting more content out on this channel as I am able. This is my my side channel. Oop. It's not going to load. Here we go. If you want to find me on my alt channel, there's more entertainment-based conversations. I will still deal with serious stories here, but a lot more sarcasm and humor on this channel, Topical Umbrella, which you can find at youtube.com @topicalumbrella. And we finally got, it took forever. I went through 4 different stores for YouTube's in store so we could do merch, because I had this really great ice shirt that we put up, and it took me forever. Like, YouTube immediately approved it, so good on them. But these on-demand clothing services that connect with YouTube continue just to deny it at every turn. They did not like our Have an Ice Day shirts, and finally got it up. But yeah, we had some fun. We got these agents are coming. Have a nice day. And I had some fun. And I have I was gonna do this the next time I talk about Mamdani, but we got these up. They should be posted on YouTube before long. But got these great T-shirts with New York from 1624 to 2025, and on the back it says where are you hiding here? It says "They heart New York" with a hammer and sickle. But anyway, yeah. So we did finally get those up, so you can find them on the YouTube store here at To Be Frank, and it's not posted yet. But if you click on one of these links, it'll take you to the store and you can find it. But the Mamdani shirt is there. This revolutionary they heart New York shirt. So anyhow, I just finally, after weeks of trying to get this stuff to work, finally got it to roll. So anyway, my friends, well, it has been a blast hanging out with you once again, and I will be most likely back tomorrow. I'm going to try to do these for at least for this month on Saturday, Sundays, and then I will try to do them in December during the weekdays. Going to kind of play around with it, trying to figure out, trying to get the channel back into the algorithm loop. We got spanked by YouTube earlier this year when I covered the Palestine-Israel story. We saw a little shadow of banning, if you will, and it is what it is. But anyhow, so thank you guys for joining me again today. What time tomorrow? Somewhere between, I don't have an exact time because I'm out on the road a lot right now for the short term. I'm trying to be online between 6 and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I will try to get on and with more scheduled hours after November if I can. So I'm just going to try to do that for after the Detroit Lions. What time is the game, Mike? Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. It is. Oh, you should be fine. That's going to be earlier in the day. That game should be over. Good on you for calling them the Redskins. I will never call them the Commanders. So, all right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to the mods, Gunmetal Wolf, and with Mike, we'll talk to you more about the mod thing. Probably talk to you with we'll see. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.